Hey, what is up, YouTube? Kolst here, and we are back with the next review for Whizbang Workshop. This time is Druid. Let's jump into it immediately. So, first card is Jade Display. 1 mana 1/1 with the Death Rattle. Your Jade Displays have +1/+1 this game. Shuffle 2 of them into your deck. So this is basically like both, if you're familiar with Jade Idol, when that existed, it's like both forms of Jade Idol in one, basically. The thing about that is that it's probably not very good, honestly. Like, I mean, obviously a 1 mana 1/1's terrible, and then by the time you draw one, like a 1 mana 2/2 is likely to be a bad play. And then, I mean, obviously, I mean, you win fatigue, right? But hypothetically, I mean, if you did draft a bunch of these, I guess it would be good, right? But I don't know. It's an epic is the problem. If it was a common, you could really go for it a lot easier, but it's an epic, right? So you're not even gonna be able to draft a lot of them. That's the problem. So I think you just don't. I think you just don't do this. But it is a candidate for, like, if you have 30 of them in your deck, it'd be really good. But yeah, it's probably just not a thing you go for. Probably bad. 1 star. Next, Magical Dollhouse. Location 1 mana. With 3 charges, gain spell damage +1 this turn only. So spell damage Druid is a thing, apparently they're trying to do. Swipe is coming back into core, right? I think so. So that's gonna be a thing. But yeah, it's kind of dependent on some of the other cards. Maybe we'll just come back and talk about this once we've talked about some of the other cards that are in, but because it's hard to say. I don't actually remember what the other cards are, so we'll just come back to that one. Next up, Bottomless Toy Chest. Generally speaking, though, I mean, these things tend to be overtuned, the location, so it's probably good, but we'll come back. Bottomless Toy Chest, 2 mana arcane spell, discover a card from your deck. If you have spell damage, copy it. So that's 1 payoff for the spell damage already. You might just, if you had the location on 1, you'd probably waste a charge of it just to trigger this, right? If you were going to play this on 2, you'd probably rather just do it later when you're already using spell damage with something else, but it'd probably be worth the charge just to, you know, do this. Overall, though, it's a little weird. I mean, it's like a tracking for 2 mana. Otherwise, if you don't have the spell damage, and if you... I'm not convinced exactly how well we can even, like... Are you going to want to commit for this stuff? I doubt it. Like, you're just not going to have other spell damage minions, right? Blizzard uses an RNG generator to decide what mechanics push one class. Yeah, it's really weird to have it in Druid. So I don't know, because you're not going to have much support for this whole archetype. So it's like, this is probably bad. I mean, it's like, this would be good. 2 mana to discover a copy. You can get 2 Riastrasas. I mean, that'd be nice, but like, it's just... You're not likely to be able to actually meet this condition. If you don't, it's bad. So it's probably bad, right? But I don't know. It might be a 2-star just because of that. It's just... Yeah, you wouldn't pick it normally, though, just for what it does. Next up, Up Sapling. 2 mana 2/1, tradable. Battle Cry, refresh 1 mana crystal, trade to upgrade. Why? I mean, the idea of this card would be you keep trading this, and you would set up some weird OTK with it, right? If you've already drawn your whole deck. I don't know. It's like, why would you ever want this, though? It's just, you just wouldn't pick this in Arena, right? It's like, you have to trade this multiple times, and then it's like, you're just, I mean, you're spending mana, which you're eventually getting back, but it's just why? It's just bad, right? It's not an Arena card. It's something you do in OTK decks. Yeah, Mark McKay's gonna pull it off, but yeah, it's just, I don't know why. I guess it is good with, it is better if you have this card, I guess. And Smallin, 3 mana nature spell. Reduce the cost and attack of minions in your deck by 1. There's a lot of Druid cards just like, why? Is this whole Druid set just why? It's like, I mean, again, this would be good for combo decks, but in Arena, like this is probably technically an upgrade, but you're spending 3 mana for it, which makes it nowhere near worth it. I would think, right? It's like kind of wild growth, but it doesn't affect your hand. It only affects your draws. So I don't think you do it. Like if you can get it for free and you just cast it randomly, sure, but yeah. Next up, Sparkling Vial. 3 mana, arcane spell. Deal 2 damage. Your next card this turn costs that much less. This is also just like weird spell damage, like OTK setup, right? You need to have like a lot of spell damage to... I mean, if you have 1 spell damage, okay, it's like, well, this starts out being like 1 mana, deal 2. It's actually not that bad, right? If you have spell damage, it's 0 mana, deal 3. So it's actually, I mean, it starts out okay, and it actually scales really good. It scales really well, right? So this card's at least pickable, right? This is not a 1. This is at least a 2. Probably just a 2, though. Like, what do you really... I mean, maybe it's a 3. I don't know. It's probably just a 2. I don't know. Probably not great still. If you have the spell damage stuff, I mean, obviously it's good, but you probably don't, so... Yeah, you'd rather have, like, Lunar Eclipse, right, than this. So... I don't know. Like, Lunar Eclipse is probably... Is Lunar Eclipse even a 3? Lunar Eclipse might be a 2. Like, this might even be, like, a 1.5. I don't know. Anyway. Next up... Wait, does this go over turns, though? No, it's this turn. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's also not good. Chaya Drake is next. 4 mana 2/4 dragon with the miniaturize. Choose 1, gain spell damage +1, or draw a spell. If you really want spell damage, that could be good. This is a good card to have with miniaturize. The problem is like, this is a 4 mana 2/4, which is really slow. And then, like, the 1/1 is great, right? You can do that. It's very easy to use the spell damage. It's really good. The problem is that you have to pick a 4 mana 2/4. Yeah, the whole mechanic is starting to feel like a trap because it almost feels like you're just not going to want to do this. If you can get everything, it probably works, right? But it's like, it sure doesn't look like it's worth the risk of going for it right now. So, I mean, this card's fine. If you're getting, like, what, 5 mana 3/5 draw 2 spells, that's pretty good, right? Like, it's probably fine. Like, you probably take this because it's an enabler for spell damage. You can use it with swipe potentially. Like, you probably pick this. Like, this is probably like a 3 out of 5, honestly. I think. Probably. But, probably not better. It's a dragon, too, so, like, dragon synergy, too. That's also potentially valid, but... So this is, like, the best card so far by far, right? But it's, like, it's still not great. Next up, Woodland Wonders. 5 mana, common spell. Summon 2 1/5 beals with taunt. Costs 3 less if you have spell damage. Another spell damage payoff that is really good with the location. You probably want to pick the I'm starting to think like you probably want to pick the location super high just because you're going to be forced to pick a lot of these. You're going to get a lot of these cards offered in draft, and it's like you might as well have activators for them, right? I guess. Because you get 2 1/5 beetles on 2, which is nice. I mean, not that you really need 1/5s on 2. What do you prevent? I mean, you're not going to take damage. They at least trade somewhat well at that point. I guess it's okay. Right? This trades with like 2 other 2-drops, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it's like they're not worth. It's not worth 5 mana for 2 1/5s, right? Like, it's just not. I mean, it's not terrible, right? It stalls, but like, it's not amazing. Not worth 5 mana. I mean, it's okay, but it's like in the right deck if you have a really want to stall for something. But I don't know, it's not great. If you have spell damage, I mean, the card is good, but I don't know. I'd probably just say this is like a 2 out of 5, maybe. Overall. Next up, Skymother Avana. Random Aviana legendary. 6 mana 5/5 Battle Cry. Shuffle 10 random legendary minions into your deck. They cost 1. But they're not 1 mana 1/1s, they're just straight up 1 mana copies. So they're all random. It's completely RNG. You can get like a 2 mana 3/2. You can also get fucking Deathwing. Or you can get like the new Demon Hunter one. There's some really insane things. You probably can't get Titans though, right? But you could get Colossals or things like that if they're in. There's a lot of obviously big legendaries. So you're playing a 6-mana 5/5, but this is gonna, like, if you play this and don't die, like, this will probably win you the game if you just live like 5 turns, right? Because it's 10 legendaries, you're probably only gonna have like at most 20, but probably even less cards than that in your deck. It's got to be like pretty good, right? I don't know. It's probably like maybe it's like a 3-star card. I don't think it can generate itself. You'd have to have something else generate it again, which would be possible. But I don't know. I mean, it's probably fine. It's an inevitability thing, right? You play this and then eventually you'll just win the game eventually. If you have any other card draw afterwards, then it will be really, really unfair actually. As long as you have card draw, like, it really should be good, right? There's a chance. It's just not that likely you get completely screwed if you draw like 3 or 4 cards in the next turn or two. You should at least get something, right? That's gonna like at least pay for itself, but possibly just win you the game. So it's probably good. I'm probably rate it like a 4. I probably just can't rate it a 5 because it's just not guaranteed and it's not immediate and stuff. But oh yeah, if you could, if you actually had Gaslight Gatekeeper with this, it'd be crazy. Yeah, that'd be pretty good. But yeah, I think it's like, you'd probably just say it's a 4. I think it's like pretty good, right? As long as you have like anything to make it work, should be fine. Next up, Alonius, 7 mana 6/6, spell damage +1. Your spells get double bonus from spell damage. I mean, you're obviously supposed to like set up like Moonfire OTKs or something, right? I don't. This whole thing just like doesn't seem worth it. You can't even wait. Swipe is 3 mana, right? So I guess you could swipe with this, but I mean, this 10 mana still. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, you're supposed to OTK with this, but it's just like okay. So I guess we go back to this card, and the rating of this is like, I mean, I can't. I don't think you go for this like spell damage stuff really. If it happens, okay, but like you probably don't even try most of the time. So I would say this is like a 2. I think the whole mechanic is like at best a 2 out of 5, but some of the bad cards are like 1s, right? It's like I just don't think you try. You probably just do other stuff, right? Pick the cards if you think they're standalone good. If it happens to work out and you just get offered a bunch of the stuff immediately, go for it. But like, I don't know. Doesn't seem very good. But with that, let me know what you guys think on YouTube. Appreciate you guys all hanging out. We will see you guys in the next one.